because I've got some technical things that I don't actually know how to use, but I've managed to make the sky come up because I just thought I'd pop out and show you this. Isn't that grand? I'm going to show you something else on the Land Rover. Obviously I've not just come to show you how pretty it is, but look at that Antique Grand's Champion. That is a Southern Alberta sunset. It's the beginning of October and it's still pretty warm out here, but anyway, it's about 20 degrees at the moment. Well, maybe not at the moment, it's about 15 perhaps now, but it's been balming all day. I've had a touch, might be a storm coming in though, which is messing with me roofing. Anyway, I'm waffling, aren't I? I'm going to talk to you today. Here's Finn, look, here he is. My top banana viewers, thank you very much, have suggested that what I do is a landscape video. And I'm happy to do that, but it is a little bit more awkward to hold the phone. I'll figure it out. I'll get one of them selfie sticks or whatever it is. I'm wandering around like that. That'll be all right, won't it? Right. Anyway, what I wanted to chat to you today about is wheels, tires and wheels. But in order to do that, I need to turn the phone around. So give me a second to do that, and then we'll wax lyrical about tires. So here we are. I've turned the camera around, waiting for the cars to pass. This is the quietest street in This is our street. See, as quietest street in Lethbridge, and since I've been filming, there's been 93 cars. But anyway, now you've probably noticed that these are not the original tyres on Finn, and that is because I changed them, because Land Rover in their infinite wisdom are trying to avoid litigation, and they're doing that by putting on tyres that are boring but don't break or blow up or whatever. So what I've done is I've changed them. I've changed mine for Cooper. Well, why can't I find the thing away, Alan? Discoverer XLTs. Now they make 3 models of this, and I'm just going to, can I do this? And you're going to get all confused, aren't you? All bent out of shape and back to front while you try to see this. But let me see if we can zoom in here. It's Cooper Discoverer 265 60 20s. Doesn't come up very clearly. It might come up when I wander around the other side. And what I've done is I've put these on because Cooper tyres are quite popular over here, and this is my 3rd run on Cooper Discoverer. I quite like them. They've got plenty of tread on them, as you can see. They've got 30 seconds of tread, and they've got some outer wall sort of casing sort of castings to help dig away at the mud. And they've got plenty of sipes, and they've also got, if I can find it, which I probably can't, oh yeah, look, it is the 3-peak. Let me zoom in on that so you can see. Why are you not clearing up? This is the, there you are, look. That is the mountain, the 3-peak mountain snowflake symbol, and there is our size, look, 265, no, it's upside down, sorry about that, 265 60 20. And I put these on because I can't get a dedicated winter tyre, oddly enough. Why is it not doing the thing? Go away, you know. There you are. I can't get the size in a dedicated winter, which is a bit of a problem. I like dedicated winters because over here we do get quite a bit of snow and ice and build up of sort of grooves in the road where people run in the snow, and then it all ends up compacted and whatever. So this is what I put on because I've had them in the past and they have been pretty much top banana. Now, having said that, I have also taken my last tyres off. When I had the Cooper Discoverer last time, I took them off because I wanted to put on dedicated winters. But like I said, there's no such tyre with a dedicated. There's no such tyre size that I'm looking for, which is a 255 60 20 in a dedicated winter for the new Land Rover. I've not come out with them. And a lot of folks on the forums are talking about. They're talking about adding tyres and sort of increasing your stance by adding bigger tyres and lift kits and this, that and the other. And I want to just have a quick word about that because I'm not really for it. I don't like lift kits, and I don't like I'm trying to zoom in here, but I'm trying to zoom out as well at the same time, and I'm clearly not doing a very good job of that. I don't like lift kits because Land Rover have designed the Land Rover the way they have for a reason. And what they've done is they've designed it with this kind of, the input angles and all the geometry, steering geometry and off-road geometry, and there's some gadgetry inside called yaw and pitch sensors, which detect how much the vehicle moves when it goes around corners like that, and how much the back end goes out when it goes round the corner. This is me going around the corner with my hand, can you see? And these yaw and pitch sensors are quite handy because if you can imagine that my hand's the car, as you go round a corner like that, you have a bit of inertia and momentum that moves you over like that. And the design, Land Rover are designed now with all these sensors to kind of control that using the stabilizer bars and all that kind of stuff. Now, lots of folk do put on the proud Rhino lift rods or whatever they are, and to jack it up or whatever it is that they're trying to think they're doing. But it messes with those angles because the stance is picked up, all the calculations are off. It's a bit of a nightmare, and Ferthie doesn't like it. So what I do is I just run it standard with maybe a slightly bit of a lift, a bit of a bigger tyre, I suppose, because the stock tyres is 255. I'm going to try and do this again, and I don't know how successful we're going to be. The stock size is 255. 60/20s, and I've fitted here 265 60/20s. Now you can see that this is 10 millimeters bigger really. This 265 here is in millimeters, and this is a ratio, or sort of percentage of this width as the height. That's how they work. So this figure is how wide the tyre is, and the width being, this sort of thing, cross section. And then this bit again is the percentage of the width as the profile height. So 265 here is 10 millimeters wider than the 255 stock, and the 60 means that there's 60% of the height as profile width. So it gives me a little bit extra, about half an inch. Now these have turned out to be a touch more than half inch. These are meant to be 32.5, but when we actually measured them, they were nearly 33. Anyway, that's them. Now what I've come to show you is this. I'm going to get my handy pocket knife out here. Now you can't carry these in Blighty because it's against the law, but you can't see this, and I'm going to try and make it a bit better for you by zooming in, and perhaps we'll just see if we can't lighten it up a bit. There you go. Now I'm just going to sort of fiddle away here with my best knife, trying not to slice my tyre apart, but I've been out on a bit of a gravel track, as you saw the other day, and what I've done here is I'm just going to poke an hole like that, because you can see that there's not a lot of room there, and there's not a lot of room there because it's pretty much right on the edge of how much space you can have on these tyres. This is just under a 33-inch tyre, and it's capped out, basically, is what I'm trying to say. You can't fit any more than a 32.5 or a 33, and certainly not any more than a 265 60/20s. They're just not going to fit. They won't fit. And I've tried this because we tried a bunch of different sizes when we fitted the tyres on the car. So it's not going to happen. And if you wanted to put lift rods on, you could probably get away with a 33, maybe a 275 60/20, perhaps, if you're into that. I don't think you'd fit a 275 55 on, even though what you do with a 275 is increase this width here, and your profile will probably remain roughly the same. It's going to be too wide, and when you start getting a turn on the corner here, you're going to start catching the mud flaps if you've got them fitted, and then if you don't have them fitted, then you might get away with something, because there's a bit of an overhang here, isn't there? Can you see that? I don't know. Why is he not zooming in? This camera should be better than this. So there's a bit of it. You can see there's this mud flap affair that's fastened on here. Gives you a little bit. There's a little bit of a gap here as you go into the the wheel arch proper. And you can see I've put a bit of a turn on here, and I've done that for a reason, obviously, and the reason I've done it for is so you can see the angle. Now, you've probably noticed, although this isn't the best light, is it? Light is fading on us fast here. You'll probably notice that it's currently in the off-road height, and I've done that to show you how that catches in off-road height. So what I'm going to do now, he says, I'm going to open the door while we're listening to I do like Queen. There's a bit of Queen here, look. I'm going to just close the door now and let it settle down. I've just dropped it into road height. Now this is a standard height, it's about 2.5 inches lower than the off-road height, and we're just going to zoom back in here. He says, if I can just try and lighten it up a touch, you can see that the amount of space we've got here is rapidly diminishing. We've got even less of it now, but it does clear. There's no rubbing on this vehicle with these tyres unless you get it at some very funny angles in off-road height, and I've tried that. So you get a slight touch of rubbing with these tyres, 265 60/20s in the off-road height, but not in standard height, and so light, in fact, that I haven't been able to find out where it is. It hasn't polished any surfaces up to let me know what it is that's rubbing. So Firthy says, if you're really that excited about putting lift rods on, then have at it. But in my experience, and I've driven quite a bit on and off road, all it's going to do is negatively affect the input angles to the driveline components. And what I mean by that is the angle at which the drive axles and the half shafts and things, not that we have half shafts, but the drive axles go into the transmission and the differential, and then the angle at which the differential comes out, a drive shaft comes out of the differentials, and all this kind of stuff is just going to negatively affect that, because Land Rover designed it for a reason. Also, if you imagine that is the bit that's holding the suspension, in fact, what I'll do, I'll lie on the floor and I'll show you. He says, this was not anticipated. So, this bit of an affair here holds the bottom of the steering and the wheel and the hub and all that sort of thing. It's called the control arm. And if you jack it up, obviously what happens is that goes up like that. Now, if you can imagine adding a 2-inch sort of lift on, what you're going to have is you're going to have that at a more steep angle. Then if you put it in off-road mode, you're going to have another 2.5 inches of angle. And right at the top, all your angles here, your input angles and your bushes, they're all out of line. They're all out of line by a bunch of like 5 or 10 degrees. And they're outside of the expected range of performance that Land Rover have calculated. Those top bananas with tweed hats in Solihull that are sitting around in that shed that have crunched numbers on their slide rules. Those guys have figured out, guys and women, have figured out at what angles they're meant to be working at. And if you start adding lift kits on, you're messing around with that, you're buggering it up. And you shouldn't do. Land Rover have spent many millions of pounds, in fact dollars, listen at me, been here too long, much money, they've spent many dollars trying to figure that out, and then somebody goes along with a piece of plastic and says, no, if you shove that in there, it'll be much better, it'll lift it all up, and away you go. Well, if you can't get as it is like that now, and you have to add some extra height to go, then you're probably either not doing it right or shouldn't be going. That's what Firthy says. In addition, if you increase the width of your, this is only Firthy's experience, there are other voices and opinions on the internet, but if you increase that width there, especially out here where it's mud, you can't just see here, but this nonsense turns into being a miserable clay when it's wet, and it all sort of slicks up in your tyres. And these spaces here are to get rid of mud and clay and evacuate water and all that kind of stuff to stop them aquaplaning and self-clean. And that's what you want. And conversely, these chaps here are called sipes, and they're designed to nibble away at snow, and they're designed to eat the snow and keep it there, because snow on snow is how you get your snow traction. Snow on snow gives you good traction. Rubber on snow is less traction, and not very much at all works on ice apart from studs. But anyway, If you increase this profile here, this width, not profile, this width, what you do is you sort of make it harder for the tyre to clear out. And so what happens is you end up slipping more. So narrower, taller tyres are better. But over here in America and Canada, people like big fat tyres. They like them because they like the look, I guess. I don't know what it is. I suppose it's a vestigial thing. They like the look, and so they like big fat wide tyres, but they actually make the vehicle less capable. And Land Rover learned a long time ago, when they disappeared off into the jungle with the camels, that tall, skinny tyres get you a long way on almost all surfaces apart from sand. And so what I've tried to do is pick a balance. The stock tyre's 255, and I would have preferred to have kept that size and gone up on the profile from a 255/60 to a 255/65, but nobody makes that, so can't really, basically. And so I've picked the next best option, which is a 265, which isn't so bad on tarmac and this sort of stuff, but it's not so good when it gets slippy like this. And the wider you go, the worse it gets. Anyway, that's why I've gone with the 265s. And I think that, safely speaking, particularly because of the mud flaps, 265/60 20 is about as tall and as wide as you can go without having to make some modifications. That's not to say that you can't make some modifications and make them fit. I'm not saying that. And there's a lot of chaps, especially Lucky Off-Road and some other boffins, have gone out and done that, jacked it up and done whatever they like, and that's for them, and I'm sure it might appeal to their audiences. But Firthy is not that audience, so he's gone for this. And we like the Coopers. We've had them for probably about 6 years now, maybe 5 or 6 years on and off, and this is my third set. Not that they've worn out. My Range Rover, the L322 Hastings that I had before this, he had a set of these on, and I sold them with him on, and they weren't half worn. This has done well, this hasn't, because that's a spare tyre, but these have done 7,000 kilometres, 7,000 miles already. And you can see they're wearing quite well. They've got many miles in them. Anyway, so that's what I've got to say to you today. I'm just going to back up now and turn the camera around. Please ask some questions if you want. And I've been told that liking and subscribing my channel is very good for you. And it's very good for me too. I don't know why it's very good for you. I'm assuming it's because you can keep up to date with my top, whatever they are, top videos. I don't know whether you describe them as top videos, but anyway, if you like and subscribe wherever I stick the thing this time. I figured out how to do that. Did you notice? A bit of a thing. Anyway, if you like and subscribe to my channel, it'd be great to keep you entertained by my inane bambling and rumbling when I'm talking about stuff that I don't really know how to about. I've got a bit of experience here and there, but anyway, isn't that grand? Look at that. Do like a Southern Alberta sunset. Anyway, thank you very much. Like and subscribe to the channel. Do tune in again, and we'll see you next week, or perhaps, or something like that. Now, over the next couple of weeks, something very exciting is happening. I can't tell you what it is because it might not come off, and then it'll look like a prat, won't it? But any road, something very exciting is happening, and I might or might not be able to show you a video where how to mount a light bar. And I say might or might not because I haven't just decided which one to go with and where it's coming from. But that's another story. So